Live. All right, welcome everyone to today's Choose to Change mentoring program. If you are an ex-convict, if you are struggling with addiction, if you want direction, or you just simply care about what we do, you are in the best place you can possibly be. That is Choose to Change mentoring class. Here you will always be inspired, challenged, and equipped for change, success, and fulfillment in life. My name is Daniel Valle. I'm a proud member of the Choose to Change mentoring program. And if you're here today, we have a special treat today. We are breaking ground, never done before, guest speaker. And so we're going to hear an exciting testimony tonight. So do not change channels. Do not change your browser if you're here. Stay tuned. So, who are we and why are we here? Before we move on, we're just going to go through a little bit about the Choose to Change mentoring program. If this is your first time watching, we are a self-supporting program sponsored by the Choose to Change Foundation organization, a 501c3 Christian-based nonprofit organization. We are on a mission to inspire, challenge, and equip men to become more effective fathers, husbands, and leaders in our community. So, who are we and why are we here? So, if you are ready to change your life, then you're in the right place. Through this program, you will learn exactly where to start, strategies to keep going, and you have a support system to help you reach your goals. The Choose to Change mentoring program believes in two key principles of life. We believe in the life-changing power of God through faith in Jesus Christ, and we believe success or failure is your personal responsibility. We believe God has already done His part, and it is our responsibility to learn to do ours. So, if you say you're ready, say I'm ready. All right, let's give it up for our brother Juan Peña as he shares his powerful testimony tonight. Amen. Give him a hand. And we believe success or failure is your personal responsibility.
I've never wore one of these before.
We believe God has already done His part.
All right, guys. Well, I just want to thank everybody for being here this evening. Mr. Orlando had spoken to me about giving my testimony and sharing what changes have taken place in my life. And I find it a privilege to be able to do that. Also a privilege to be able to speak on, for me personally, it's been God, along with Orlando. He's been, I guess, you could say my mentor, my friend, my brother, for several years. Even when I first got out of prison, I think I've been out of prison now going on 20 years. So it's been a while. Thank God for that. So without any any further delays, I try to ask Orlando before I got up here when he asked me to do this, what I need to do or what I need to write down or how I need to prepare. He just said, "Don't worry about it. You just tell him everything." So, all right, man. Let me see how I'm gonna get started here. I just wanna first of all thank God, thank Orlando, Choose to Change. My pastor also, who is, God has been able to give him the ability to do things like this for us and to be able to reach people who are in addiction, people who have been incarcerated, maybe struggled in life in those sort of paths. Orlando always stresses that this is for men class, but it's also very, very instructive to women, mothers. You learn a lot from what men need to look like and what we need to be in life. So I'm going to start off from the beginning, I guess, just to give you an idea where I come from, so you can kind of get a picture of how things developed in my life and how I got to certain points in my life. I grew up in a small town called Ed Couch, Elsa. I lived out in Ed Couch. I come from a family. My mother was the daughter, was the sibling of, there were 15 brothers and sisters. My mom was the youngest out of all of them. So she was the baby. She was the last one that was born into my grandmother's family.
Developed in my life and how I got to certain points in my life.
She had my sister and I have two other brothers. My sister has a different dad. I have a different dad. My two other brothers have different dads as well. My two younger brothers grew up with their dads. I'd kind of seen them from time to time, but not really stayed a lot of time together with them. Just, I visited with them here and there. Once I got locked in and trying to change my life, I really didn't look back to that part. But to give you an idea there, my mother grew up in this small town. I don't exactly understand what happened to her. As I go into the testimony, you guys will begin to see what happened there. But all I know is that my mother was an alcoholic and she was a drug addict. And that's where I came from. I came into the picture when she was already a full-blown alcoholic. My sister was born, and then I was born 2 years later.
In this small town, I don't know exactly.
I remember that my grandma used to tell me after I was growing up a little bit more that what happened with me growing up was that I remember times that my mother, she would show up to our house, and what she would do was that I could be asleep. I was maybe 9, 8, 7 years old, probably at that time, and I could hear screams on the outside. My grandma wouldn't allow my mother to come inside the house anymore. She'd block her out. She wasn't allowed to come in because every time she'd come in, she would cause trouble or take stuff or whatever. So my grandmother took me in and started raising my sister and I.
I remember times that
And so all I could remember at times when I was growing up, I would hear her screaming on the outside. She would show up with different people, and she would be yelling and screaming and calling out to my grandmother to go ahead and take me outside, that she wanted to see me. She wanted to see her kid, and basically me, because my sister kind of, she wouldn't go down that road, but she was always asking for me. So at times my grandmother would run over there, wake me up, and I was already awake because I could hear all the scandal going on. She'd be knocking on windows, running around the house, and all this craziness. My mother would wake me up, tell me, come on. She'd grab her gun, put it on, and she'd tell me, let's go outside so you can see her mother. In the middle of the night, man, 1 o'clock in the morning, just to give you an idea of what was happening. So you'll see how things develop. And so there I go, man. I'm a little kid. She got me by the hand. She's standing on the street, and she's like, all right, he's right here. You're looking at him. So I'd stand there, and she'd say, well, let me hug him. Let me, and I'd let me go for a little bit, and I'll let him back in. I'll get out of here. And she'd take me back inside the house.
My mother wake me up, tell me, come
So as I was growing up and stuff, I would hear a lot of this, kind of things that would happen. My mom would tell me that I was getting stolen as a kid, as a baby. I was being taken from my house, from my mom, and I would live in the bars, underneath the stools in my little carrier and stuff like that. And I remember times growing up, when I was growing up, that's all I remember was bars. Man, I'd be in the back, be jumping over the stools. I'd know the bartenders. I'd go around the back, be shooting pool as a little kid. That's where I was. That's where I grew up, man. That was my playground. You know what I mean? Till my grandma would pull me away, and then she'd pull me back in. So this was my life as I was a little boy growing up. So when my mom took me in, my grandmother, she had already raised 15 kids. My mother was the last one, and she had these children. Now my grandmother was trying to raise me and my sister. So what would happen was that my grandmother was still working. She was trying to make a living, trying to make some money, so she would take these temporary bodega jobs and all this working in the fields. I remember the troque would come to the house, drop her off. I would see her get off. So what would happen is that I would have to be taken to places for times when I was younger so that people would take care of me. So I would stay in all kinds of different houses. And I remember that at times I was in places that were not good for me. There were places where people would do wrong to me or teach me to do bad, and things weren't good. But this is what I was living. I was moved around, shipped around all the time as a little kid. This is my life. This is the way I grew up. This is the way I was starting to develop. So, as I started getting older, I started hanging out with my primos that were just like me, and I started growing up with them. These guys lived in a place they called the Rincón del Diablo. Bad guys. So these guys right here, I drew real close to them because they took care of me. They took me under their wing, and they told me, hey man, like they would take care of me like I was their little brother. You know what I mean? They wouldn't allow nobody to do anything to me. They wouldn't nothing. They were right here. So that's how I grew up. But in that process of me growing up with them,
as I started getting older,
I also learned how to become, because as I was growing up, I remember there was a time, a specific time, either in elementary or something like that, where kids were making fun of me. This is for you younger guys that maybe you're going to school, you've been places where people make fun of you. They were making fun of me because they knew my mother. My mother used to live on the streets. So you could be on the streets or running to school, and you might see her passed out on the side of the street somewhere. And so people would talk. It was a small town. So what happens one day is that this stuff comes around to me. Now I'm hearing this stuff. It's affecting me, man. Inside of me, it's doing something to me. So I'm getting now this other man, this other person, this thing is happening to me. And my primos that took me in, this is where they came into the picture. They showed me how to be violent, how to not take this from nobody. Don't allow anybody to disrespect your mama. My tia, nobody's going to talk about her. Nobody, this is how we're going to handle these guys. So then I became this guy where I couldn't fight, but they told me how to fight. Okay, who's the one that you heard talking? That guy. Okay, I can't take that guy out. No, you're not. But you're going to initiate it first. You're going to go and you're going to hit him in the back. As soon as you get on the first gato, we're all going to get in for you. We're all going to take him down. And this is who I became. This guy that would rely on me defending myself. So see, there's a lot of things going on in the mind right there at that time. As I'm developing, as I'm growing up, I can't seem to get a footing on my ground. Now I'm going to school, I'm listening to these teachers, but now I can't process things no more. I can't study, I can't take in what they're trying to teach in school because now I'm on the defense all the time. I'm trying to watch my back, trying to see who's looking at me wrong and trying to look at this environment. I'm a different person. And even if the teacher said something wrong, I would automatically fire back. Next thing you know, they're sending me to the office and taking me and all this and that. Well, this is the lifestyle that I developed. My grandma was trying to raise me the best that she could. She was trying to work. She was trying to love me and making me to become a better person. But I was growing up on the streets, and the only ones that I could rely on were the guys that were just like me, that were my cousins, that were teaching me how to defend myself. These were the people that I leaned to for support. I didn't have a father. Never knew a name to my father. I never had a name, a face, nothing. My mother, she's not in the picture. This is her life. She's an alcoholic, she's a drug addict, and she's out on the streets. Me, I'm trying to survive in this little town where everybody knows everybody, so everybody's not going to talk to me no way, no how. So then as I'm pushing over to these guys, I remember that I'm running with these guys, and then boom, what happens is that I get some other cousins that come from up north. They come from Chicago. They move into the valley. They're not from there, but they're running from their criminal life. And they end up in the valley. When they end up in the valley, they were just like my other cousins that were there, but even worse. And when I got close to these guys, I was like, I want to be like these guys. You know, nobody tells these guys anything. So then they brought me in right away. Hey man, you know, at this time, I'm about 12 years old. I'm about 12 years old, man. And these guys come in, man, and they bring me in. And they're trying to show me this and that, you know, and trying to make a way for me. But there was another thing that happened to me right around that time, around 10 or 11 or 12 years old. Right there, man, there was a turning point. Something that happened to me in my life that's very important that a lot of people don't know about. What happened at this time, man, is that I met another guy on the streets. And this guy was kind of like me, but not like me. He was the kind of guy that would take me in like, hey, orale, but he was older, right? I was used to being around older guys all the time. This guy took me in, and this guy was taking me around, and then when I would run, you know, we'd get off at the store, he'd get off to buy some beer, I'd get off with him, and somebody would, like we were outside in another town, we might be in Donna or in Westlake or in Far, we'd go to Far, and they would say, hey man, who's this kid that you're with? And he would say, the first thing he said was, oh, that's my son. That's your son? Yeah, man, I didn't know you had a son. Dude, when he said that, I was like, whoa, I never felt anything like that before. You know what I mean? Like, this guy's just saying, but that guy had bad intentions. His intentions weren't right towards me. And when he tried to make the wrong move on those intentions, it went bad. You know what I mean? So then something else happened to me right there at that point. In my head, you know what I mean? I'm not trusting nobody. Nobody. Everybody's out the picture now. I'm only gonna rely on my cousins and on my other primos from the barrio. And I'm gonna become even harder. And so this guy tried to make the wrong move and try to go the wrong way with me, and I had to put him in his place, and then it was a bad situation. So, but now, what happened to me there? Something happened. Something broke in me. The trust that I was feeling and allowing somebody else to come in and maybe be a part of helping me in my life, they just broke that. My head just broke completely right there. I wasn't trusting nobody no more. So that wasn't going to become really difficult. So my other cousin started teaching me on how to break in doors, how to make money, how to steal, and how to jack. And that's the first thing. I remember the first thing that my older cousin brought me into his wing. The first thing they taught me, he told me, this is how you break down a door. And they taught me. Those were my teachings. I was being taught how to commit crimes, how to do wrong as a youngster developing into manhood or trying to get into teenage. I'm barely going into teens right here. And this is what they're telling me. I remember breaking into places, man, being there. Everybody runs to their places, grab their stuff, do what you got to do. I remember my first robbery. And please note, man, for everybody listening to us also online, I'm not saying any of this to gloat or to glorify any of the wrong, because it's all totally wrong. But it's part of who I was so that you guys can understand. Maybe perhaps some of you here, maybe somebody on there online went through something exactly like me and needs to hear this. So this is what's being developed in me. A lot of untrust. Everything has been broken. My head, everything is twisted. And these are the only guys that are taking me in and showing me a way. So then as I'm developing it, I'm breaking down doors, I'm doing these things. And then the worst thing happens, man. Remember, I got these primos here from Chicago teaching me the crime. And then I got the other ones that are still part of my life, that are part of the barrio. This guy right here, first thing he does, man, is we got some money. I did some money. I got him. I run into him. He tells me, hey, man, let's get some soda. So we get some soda. And then the first thing he does, he pulls out that thing that Orlando says. Hey, man, check this out. This stuff right here will make you like Superman. Make you mad. And that's what I wanted. I wanted to be, man, the toughest one there was around. And guess what I did, man? I gave myself to that. I gave myself to that thing, man. That thing converted me into a monster. Man, I took off, man, from the age of 12 to 13 right there. By the time I was in age of going into 14, almost turning 15, I already had 30 felonies under my belt. 30! Seen all kinds of courthouses, judges. I went through all kinds of stuff, and I'm dragging my grandmother through all this. Everybody's going through all this. Next thing you know, they couldn't do any more with me, man. They had to lock me up. They sent me to juveniles. They sent me to TYC. I picked up more cases while I was in there, and I picked up an escape charge when I was in there because I left the place. I left the place where they were holding me as a teen, as a kid. And you got to remember where I was coming from, where I ended up, how I was going through all these crime lives and living this life. So next thing you know, they're going to let me go. But then the county comes and my probation officers, because you didn't have parole officers at that time till I got the TYC, they told my grandmother, hey, look, man, we don't want to let him go. You know what I mean? Because he's still 16. He's going to be 17, but he's still going to be And then she was like, man, you got to give him to me. He's already been here like 2 years. You guys got to let him go. So then she was like, well, we'll let him go, but you got to move him out of this town. We don't want him here in the valley. This is my life, man. This is who I was growing up. Nowhere to go. Everything was shut down, man, because of the way that I was living my life, because of the way things took me. For a lot of people, sometimes that's what happens. I don't know. And so they tell him, all right, we're going to let him go. And my mom says, I'll move from the valley. So we moved. We moved up to Amarillo. They sent us away, and they took us. So I went up there, and I lived, man, it didn't take long. By the time I got over there, I spent maybe 3 months over there, 4 months. And I took off. I found some people that were just like me, broken, didn't have any sense of direction, were trying to get high, were trying to find their own way in life, trying to make it on their own. People especially that felt that they were either left or abandoned by their parents. Those were the kind of kids and the people that I was attracted to. Because, I mean, I could be in a place, I remember real vividly, man, being at this family reunion, and we're all at the island. Talking about all my uncles, I told you there was 15 of them, 15 uncles and aunts. My mom was the youngest. They got all their kids. And everybody, all right, everybody go with your dads. All the moms tell that to everybody. And all the kids run over there to the tios. Where'd I go? See, all this stuff is starting to, you know what I mean? And those are little things that were like, boom, boom, that would trigger me and would be like, whoa, whoa, wait a minute. You know, and I wasn't going to let that bring me down, man. So I became hard. I became this person that, and then once I was involved in drugs, it was even worse. At the age of 16, man, I got out, I picked up more charges, came back to the valley. Those same cousins brought me in. They told me, you know what, from now on, now you're going to make a pledge. You're going to come into the family. This was a gang. So once I got involved with the gang, things really got worse after that. Which is sometimes, I don't know if they still do that nowadays. It's been so long I've been away from all that. But sometimes that's what happens, man. We get drawn into friends and the people that we feel that we can relate to or that we're comfortable around. And so I came back, man. As I came back, I got involved with somebody. I thought that's what I wanted in my life. I found somebody like a girlfriend. And one thing led to another. I had 2 kids. I was trying to change my life, but I couldn't. I was so caught up in this drug addiction and my life and all kinds of stuff was going on. Then with that person, I also ended up, a lot of stuff started happening to me. You all guys already saw how what happened with my father figures. I couldn't have that. I destroyed that. How I couldn't trust nobody. How I couldn't rely on anyone. Well, then I got involved with somebody that did the same thing to me. That every time I go to work, something was going on. If I left somewhere, they would leave somewhere else. So now, the picture of me believing what I thought was going to fix me wasn't. It was somebody that I couldn't trust. So now who I was becoming even got worse. Now everything was shutting down because the only thing that I could look to was my grandmother. She was solid. She was there. She was unmovable. But now I'm looking at somebody else on that side, which is another girl, and I see that it's not that way. That they can be pretty bad too sometimes. So that started affecting me inside as well. Now I'm starting to like really shut everything down. And so things didn't work out. Like it wasn't gonna work out. I came back to the valley. I had left the valley. I came back to the valley. I didn't last very long. Next thing you know, I picked up 3 major charges. I picked up a robbery, an aggravated assault, and another burglary of a building. Now I'm an adult. To give you an idea of what happened to me from my transition from my juvenile stage to my adult life, when they released me from TYC and I left and I came back to the valley, they arrested me for another charge. And when they arrested me on that charge, that day was my 17th birthday. So when they took me and they put me in the car, the officer got the door open. He's getting my information. He says, "Hey, man, how old are you?" I tell him, "What's today?" He says, "Today's July 11th." I said, "Oh, yeah, today's my birthday. I'm 17. 17? You're going to the county." So I just got out of juvenile. I didn't even make it to my 17th birthday. On my birthday, I'm headed to the county jail. Now I'm going straight into the adult jails now. Well, that was it, man. I caught these other 3 charges. Now it was different. Now it wasn't like juvenile. You could catch all these cases. They let you in and out. They release you to your mom. Now the judge is like, "Hey, man, you did a robbery, and I had just got an assault, and I was already on probation for a burglary of a building, 10 years for that." So they were looking to give me anywhere from about, I think it was from 20. They start from 20 to 2099, something like that. But it's just a figure of speech. They don't really, but it's a time that it can carry. And at the end, just like Orlando, they didn't give me anything like that. They gave me an 8-year sentence. But not realizing that, like Orlando says, I had to do it all. So here I am, 18 years old, 19 years old, I'm going to prison. I didn't get out till I was 28 years old. And then, after I went to jail, I remember being in jail. The reason I'm going to tell you this to you guys, I'm going to tell you, it'll come together here at the end. When I was in there, I remember running. I didn't get saved. I did my thing. I stood up for myself. I did what I was supposed to do. I did I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna hold my ground. I didn't want to be involved in no more gangs. I didn't want to live that life. So I didn't want an older guy trying to tell me what I was supposed to do when I was in prison. Because we were both in there for something. So how's this guy going to tell me what to do? So that's the way I felt. So when I got in there, they came to me, they talked to me. They were like, "Hey, man, you going to be down?" I told them, "Look, man, I'm from the valley. And if you guys need any help, I'm here. But I ain't running with nobody." I already knew how not to disrespect people, how not to get involved with people and let everybody do their thing. So I did that. I remember as I was in there, it's kind of funny because there's a few things that I left out, man, as I was growing up. I remember certain little things about me growing up, man. I remember riding my bike. I would ride my bike everywhere. I'd leave the house. My mom wouldn't tell me what time to come back. I could leave and go whatever time I wanted. But I remember passing by a little church, riding my bike through a church, and seeing these people in there clapping. They didn't have no AC. They got the windows open. And I'd stop and put my bike right there on the side and just look inside the window and wonder what these people were all happy about. Little things like that I remember. I remember one time there was a tent, something over there going on. And this man was on the stage praying for people and telling this greatness about God and the goodness about God. And I'd be like, what is this, man? How is this? Who is this God? What is it? I remember being a Catholic. So I would see these guys, right? And I want to know what this was. I'm a kid. I'm 10, 11 years old, man. I'm 9 years old riding my bike and I'm watching this stuff. And I remember going to the Catholic church and I walked in there, man. As a little kid, I put my bike outside. Nobody was there. They always left it open. You can go in there anytime you wanted to. And I walked in there, man, looked at the statue. And I'm like, "Hey, are you for real?" I'm trying to talk to the statue, trying to find out if it was real. This is things that are going on inside of me. As I'm in prison now, I'm an adult, I'm in my 20s now. All my life, you guys have already got an idea of how I grew up, right? Little picture there of this life of crime and this craziness going on. I'm in this prison, man, and I'm still rolling hard, doing my thing. Now, I'm involved with other stuff. I'm making money. So then I got people that were in gangs. This is how weird it is. When I get to prison, man, the first person to hit me up, if he hits me up, he's like, "Hey, man, what's up? Who you going to be down with?" I say, "I ain't going to be down with nobody." Where are you from? I'm from the valley. All right. He said, Orale, what's your name? Oh, I said, Juan Peña. He goes, Juan Peña, Orale. So the word runs, man. Over there on the top, there's a clique out there. Older guys, you know, called a gang. It's a family up there. They're basically from Houston. They're from over here. The guy's here, hey, Peña. So they come down. Name was Smiley. The guy comes down. He says, hey, man, tú eres Peña, ¿de dónde eres? I said, I'm from Ed Couch. Orale. Hey, is your sister Jessica? I said, yeah. Orale, your sister. I said, yeah. I said, that's my girl. I said, what? Yeah. So she was right into it, brought the letters down and everything, you know. So we're talking there. He starts showing me letters. I said, man, that's crazy, man. She don't even write to me. She write to you. But anyways, that guy was like, hey, man, hombre, este vato lo que quiera. Whatever, leave him alone, man. Whatever he wants. I'll fight. I'll do whatever. But I wasn't going to be down with nobody. But little things like that happened where people knew me and stuff and whatever, coincidences. So when I started doing business in there, they let me do it. They would say, hey, man, he can do whatever he wants. Anybody wants to mess with you, come tell him, talk to us. I'd be like, all right. But nobody come tell me nothing. So the reason I'm saying this is because in there, I was so caught up in doing my things that I wasn't paying attention to what God was trying to do. I didn't realize that God was trying to talk to me. I didn't realize that he was a father to the fatherless. I didn't know these things. And as I'm in there, man, doing my thing, I remember there's always a brother trying to talk to me. Hey, Peña, Peña. Tell you about, hey. And I'll be like, hey, brother, what's up, man? Hey, invite you to church. There was church in prison. I'd be like, hey, not right now, brother. I'm going to, you know, whatever. And every time he'd see me, man, he'd see me from a distance. He's, hey, Peña. You know, always trying to talk to me. There was another brother, too. He's always trying to talk to me. Well, these people were from San Antonio. So if you know anything about prison, most of the time the people from the valley and the people from San Antonio, they don't talk. They talk, they can get along, but it's more of a, hey, you're from, you know, Orejone, whatever, you know, whatever the deal was there. So you kind of just talk, but, you know, you kind of, you know. So there was that thing that, you know, they're from San Antonio, I'm from the valley, and, you know, I'm not involved with them, and I'm not involved with these guys, so I don't want to be too much talking to these guys. And I'm not running with nobody. These guys are going to see me like, hey, man, what are you doing over there talking to these guys all the time? It's a lot of politics in there. But I knew how to handle myself around these people. So I knew my limits. But there was a lot of times like that. I had money in there. I had commissaries. I had 2 or 3 houses, other people's houses filled with commissary. I'd never go to the kitchen, stuff like that, because I was doing stuff. One time, man, I'm running so hard, man, doing so many things, going so fast, man. One time, this brother tells me, I'm running down the aisle. He's in his house. Hey, Juan. I stopped. Hey, what's up, brother? He told me, hey, man, what are you doing? I said, nothing, man. I said, I smelled in his house. I got roast beef and all kinds of stuff. I got my buddies downstairs. They're cooking all kinds of stuff. This guy's got a food in his house, and I could smell this food coming from his cell. And I'm like, man, what are you cooking? Oh, come in, man. I'll show you. Hey, so the guy tells me, hey, man, I got a little soup. I said, oh, man. You know, that's poor man's food really in there, you know, but it smells so good. He goes, you want some? I said, man, nah, brother, go for it, man. He's a Christian, you know. He said, man, sit down, Juan, sit down. We got his bunk. We used to get our bunk. We flip it over, put it against the wall there, and you just sit on the aluminum right there like that. And so I sat down right there, and I'm, you know, leaning on the cushion behind it, you know. And the guy told me, no, I just want to read you something. I said, oh, all right, brother, go for it, man. So I'm kind of looking, right, making sure nobody's watching me. And the guy starts reading something to me. And I'm listening to it, man. I don't know what happened, man. Next thing I know, I crashed out. I'm asleep on this guy's bunk like that, you know. I'm leaning there, and everybody's going around. My boys are going crazy looking for me. Good. Yeah, the brother, they're running around trying to find me because the spread downstairs is already done, you know. So se va a enfriar. And I'm like, they're running around, hey, Ota Peña, and everybody's running around looking for me, and then they run around, they, hey, Peña, no han visto a Peña, y pasaron, and the brother heard, he's like, hey, and I heard, and I kind of got up, and I looked at him, I'm like, man, what happened? He just looked at me, he said, man, you fell asleep. Órale, hombre, te andan buscando. I said, órale. So I got out there, and there was a peace around this man. Something that I didn't understand. When I was in that guy's presence, what he was trying to do, I felt it. And I couldn't explain it. And I didn't tell nobody about it, but it was something that he had that I felt at that time. So I did my time. You know, I did my time. I got out. When I got out, I remember they released me. I mean, it was crazy because now I grew up. Now I'm 28 years old, man. I'm about to be 30 years old, and they're letting me out. And so I still got this mentality where the one that I had growing up. And so as I grew up, this is what they're releasing back into society. I'm still this. I mean, it's not like I got anything like Orlando. You know, he went in there and he wanted to change his life. He read, he did all these things. I didn't do none of that. So as they released me back out, man, they let me back out, and I really don't know what to do. You know what I mean? I was just going to be me. So next thing you know, man, my mom's still around. I don't know where she's at, though, because they released me. A lot of things changed, man. Cell phones and all kinds of stuff now, man. You know, I used to, they didn't have none of that when I left. And then when I was in juvenile, I really I didn't have no access to any of that stuff. You know, I was the guy in the barrio who didn't have none of that kind of stuff, you know. So they released me, man. And when they released me, I start working and trying to, just trying to figure out life. And I remember one day I hooked up with my brother, one of my two brothers that I told you in the beginning that got raised with their dad. And we went out to a club one Friday. And as we're going to the club, we go by, the club was behind the House of China on 10th and Nolana. And so we drove in from Edinburgh, so we're coming down Nolana, west of Nolana, gonna turn up and then go behind that little plaza that we had, that club. And on that corner of that 10th and Nolana, there's some people. I don't know these people. There's these people that are yelling on a bullhorn, and they're all over the place there. And me and my brother, I'm at the stoplight, and these people are at the window trying to give him a paper. And he's telling them, hey, get away from the window, get away from the window. And I tell him, hey, man, just get the paper from this guy. You know, get the paper. So he gets the paper. He rolls down his window. Yeah. He gets it. He puts it in the car. We run around the corner. We go to the club. That day on that club, I met a girl. So I met her. We hung out that evening. I left. That evening, I got that paper that those people gave me on that street corner. I wrote my phone number on there, and I gave it to her. So we went out on a date. Then the second date, she got to meet my grandmother. I was still the same guy. You know, I wasn't saved. I didn't know anything. So I was kind of afraid, man, because she was a good girl, and I knew who I was. We all know who we are, you know, sometimes. So I knew I was kind of, I never told her that, but I was always like, man, I don't know if she understands what she's getting involved with here, man. You know what I mean? I was twisted. I had this drug addiction. I was this, I wasn't stable in my mind. But she felt like she was falling for me. So next thing you know, man, she falls for me. I fall for her. And then now I can see something that I'm attracted to, because as you guys that were here in my life, when I was growing up, all this chaos happened with all these people where I couldn't trust nobody. Nothing, no one, nothing. Not girls, not guys, not nothing. But now somebody's tapping into my life, and I'm still trying to figure out, hey, wait a minute, man, is this, you know? So she finally realized who I was. It didn't take long, man. I started, I was running fast still. Next thing you know, man, we're up north. This is quick, 3-4 months after I'm out already. The cops are looking for me. I'm a fugitive of justice. I picked up some more charges. I'm running from the law. She's with me. They catch up to me in another state, in another upstate Texas, way up there. They catch up to me. I remember they caught up to me, man, and they arrested me right there in front of everybody. She had 2 kids. She had a little beautiful little girl like this, 1-year-old. She had a 3-year-old boy. And that was it. I was going back. I remember being in that cell up there, small county. I call her, and she tells me she's pregnant. That broke me up, man. That just destroyed everything about me, man. Because I remember after that, going into my cell, and asking God why He brought me into this world, why I was here, what was His purpose, why do I have to be here? Look at what I'm doing. Now I'm leaving other children fatherless, and I didn't know what to do. But I remember that God. I remember hearing people about God. And I remember that brother in jail. I remember him telling me, God loved me. He wanted to do something with my life. Right there that day, I asked God, if you can do something with me, change me, help me, do something for me. I'm not going to get all spiritual about it and everything, but I think I heard him that day there. He said he would restore everything back if I just, in my craziness, in my head. And so since that day, I started looking for him. I started reading. I started praying. I started looking for him, trying to see who he was. And I gave my life to him. I told him, hey, help me, use me, do something. And so I get out. I went back. Well, what happened was that I had these I had other charges and had a fugitive justice. So now I'm drawing near to God. So things are not working. Now things are not the same. So now as I go to the judge tells me, hey, guess what? And I'm in another town. I'm in another state now. I'm not in the valley where they got raza that are judges and they know you and you can probably talk to them. I'm in a whole different ball game now. I'm in this town, in this place where nobody knows you, and they're all white. So, we had this thing that, can't say that no more, but, it wasn't like you were. But I remember being there, and the judge brought me up and everything, and they talked to me, and they told me, hey, you know what? We dropped all these charges. I don't know how it happened, whatever he's telling me, and I'm just like, what? So they dropped all these charges on you. The only thing you're going to go back is on this fugitive justice, which is 1.5 years. I was like, man, I'll take that 1.5 years. So I went,
it was like nothing. It happened quick. I just in and out. But now things are happening. So when I get out, I tell that girl, hey, find a church. Oh, by the way, that girl, while I was in prison, she didn't leave me. She stayed with me. She believed in me or in God. I was writing to her about what God was doing for me in my life and and she started believing. And I told her, hey, we're supposed to get married while I was in jail. And she said, okay, I'll marry you. So she married me while I was in jail. So when I got out, she was my wife now. By the way, that's my wife, Laura, now. I've been with her 20 years. My daughter Victoria is there and Lorena are there. They're the ones that are, she was the one she was pregnant with was Victoria, and the pretty little 1-year-old right there is Lorena. She's about to get married next month. Or this coming this month. And there's her fiance right there, Albert. So, yeah. But anyways, I don't want to get that far yet. But yeah, I get out. I tell her, hey, we're going to be going to a church. Find a church. We can go to a church. And so she finds a church. The story that she tells me is that she wasn't really going to a church. She was finding churches, like bouncing around. And then she went to a church at Freddy Gonzalez that somebody told her to go to. And when she got there, she introduced herself. They were real nice to her and everything. And then when she went back to visit the second time, everybody remembered her name. So she was like, I'm going to stay here. That way he thinks that everybody already knows me here. Well, he said, well, you've been going to church for 2 years. I was say, right here, look, everybody knows me. So it's kind of I'm just kind of throwing that out there because it's kind of interesting to what happened was that I remember I stayed at the church. I went to the Freddy Gonzalez, the Door Christian Fellowship, which is where we're at now. And I remember they invited us to go outreach, and we went to go street preach, and we went to 10th and Olana. And we're standing there, and they gave me a stack of flyers, and they said, hey, man, when the cars pull up, just give them a flyer. And so I'm standing there, and I grab these flyers, and I look at the car, and I reach over to give this guy a flyer, and he's like, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. This is what happened. How long you guys been doing this? And they told me they've been doing this since 94 or something like that. So I was like, wow, that's crazy. How that happened was that it happened to me. I was on that street corner with my brother, and I don't know if it's all coincidence, but it's just amazing the way, if that's the way God works, I'm sure he does work that way, but that was amazing to be able to see that. But even more amazing, let me tell you what else happened. I stayed with the church. I've been now with the church all these years, thank God. He's done a tremendous change in my life and my family. But I remember that, I think it was a year after being in the church or so, or maybe a year and a half or whatever, they invited us to a conference in San Antonio. And so I'm like, yeah, let's go check it out. That's our mother church, and everybody gets together, everybody goes over there. So I said, all right, well, let's go. And so we go over there, right? And as I go into church and I start seeing all these people, different churches from all over the country and other countries and all these things, I walk in there and the usher comes up to me. The usher was the brother who was sitting in that cell in prison that I fell asleep on his bunk. He's a pastor now in the south side of San Antonio to this day. The other brother who would always talk to me is a pillar in the San Antonio church right now. He's been there all these years. So it's like, what? And the guys told me, I knew it. I knew you were going to come one day. And I was like, how did you know? But anyways, they're just kind of playing around with me. but to see how God was orchestrating things in my life when he puts these, how he put these men there. How would have I have ever known? You know what I mean? And I wasn't mean to these guys. I mean, when they were in there in jail, they knew how I was, but whenever they would talk to me, it'd be like, hey, I'd be talking to somebody, hey, and they'd talk to me right here, Juan, I'd be like, oh yeah, brother, what's going on? You know, it was like this respect, this thing that I respected of them, that I felt that maybe I wanted, but that I hadn't obtained yet. So here I am. I've been in the church now 20 years. We have 5 children. I have my older son, Joey, Lorena. Joey was a 3-year-old boy that I had left, or that my wife had when I met him. And the 1-year-old is Lorena, who's there. And then Victoria was the one that she was pregnant. Now I have Israel and Evelyn, 2 more. But God has done an amazing work in my life. I remember just coming in, and I remember Pastor and everyone just embracing us, talking to us. Orlando got out at the same time that I got out, just about the same time. Orlando automatically took me in right away. He took me in. He started helping me. He started showing me. And things have been tremendously different for my life now. Things have totally changed. If I tell you where I'm at now, I'd kind of sound like, you know, but God's blessed me. My wife used to work for the Edinburgh Regional Hospital, and she also worked for Renaissance for a lot of years. She was mainly the one that would take care of us, you know, like she would make more money than me. But my wife hasn't worked for years. I think it's been 10 years, maybe more, you know. And I thank God for that, because she was always working while we were raising our other children. And, you know, now that my other smaller children were born, she was able to stay home. But all of that was possible because Jesus Christ had grace and mercy on my life. I remember that even in the hardest, in the most troublous times in my life, when I called out to God, he reached down through everything. Through all of that mess, through all of that destruction that was in my heart, through all of that brokenness that was in me, God reached in and he made a way. And maybe you're out there right now. Maybe you've gone through some of the things that I've gone through. Maybe you've experienced some of the heartbreaks, maybe the untrust of certain people, and maybe certain people have done certain things in your life where you can't feel that you can trust anyone. Let me here to tell you, my friend, that you can trust God. You can trust Jesus Christ at any time, no matter what you're going through, no matter what's happened in your life. And this evening, I just wanted to share a little bit about what God's done for me in my life and in my children's life, and to encourage you that it doesn't matter how hard life has been for you, that you can always call out to God and he will always make a way. Choose to Change has been a big part of my life, big change in all that I do and how I've developed into this man that I am now for God. So if you're out there and you're thinking about coming here, you're thinking about, you know, spending some time with us, we invite you to come in, spend some time with us, give God an opportunity to change your life and to help you in your life. And I just want to thank everybody for allowing me this time to speak. May God bless you, and thank you very much.
Amen. How many of you guys enjoyed that testimony? It was really, really powerful. I just want to take some time. We're going to pick up a donation for Choose to Change. And so we're going to start doing something a little bit different, however, this time. I want to open it up like we've never done before on Choose to Change. And, you know, I have the privilege, I just want to share that I have the privilege of helping Choose to Change full-time. This is my full-time job. I don't know if you guys know that, but now you do. But, and I want to share something about this organization. Orlando has no idea that I'm going to say what I'm going to say. And it's probably a part of Choose to Change that you have not thought about. But how many of you guys know what Choose to Change vision is? What is our vision? We talk about our mission statement, but very rarely do we talk about our vision. Anybody want to know? Well, let me share it with you. Choose to Change's vision is so that no family suffers the pain of fatherlessness, drug addiction, and family violence. If you guys have bought the book or read the book, Orlando's Dead Man Walking, in the very first page, he dedicates the book to a daughter that I had no idea he had another daughter. I've known about Andrea and Alani and his son, but I didn't know about this other daughter he had. And he says this very thing: I've dedicated my life so that no family would have to suffer the pain of fatherlessness, drug addiction, and family violence, which he, unfortunately, his daughter went through. But that's why he does what he does, and that's why Choose to Change does what we do, because that is the vision of Choose to Change. As long as there's fatherlessness, drug addiction, and family violence, our job is not done. We will still keep going. We will go all over the world to find men, all over the nation to find men, so that no family has to go through this. What if we could accomplish this? Obviously, right, there's a lot of work to be done. And I hope that kind of puts into perspective as to what is before us. You know, I personally am very grateful for Choose to Change, because without Choose to Change, I wouldn't have a lot of friends that I have now. I wouldn't have our pastor Oscar Cruz, our brother Rudy. Orlando talked about Erasmo. We, you know, where would they be? Chavaria, Frank. I've known Frank since I was a kid, but it wasn't until he came recently and found his place in Choose to Change. You know, now he's a part of our family. Our door director, Isaac. I remember when I brought Isaac. Isaac was from the streets. I'm a church kid. I have no idea how to relate to those people. But if it wasn't for Choose to Change, I wouldn't. Choose to Change has allowed our church access to be able to reach people that I would have never been able to reach or have a relationship with. And that's all because of the grace of God and what God is doing through this organization. I believe God has his hand over this organization, over our ministry. But even men who were before Orlando and Choose to Change, you know, it's given them expression. How many of you guys were blessed by our brother's testimony? You know, what a blessing. But yet we would have never had that if there wasn't this platform, if there wasn't this avenue, this bridge to men that our church has never reached before. You know, like I said, I'm a church kid. I've seen our church. I've been here since I was 4 years old. Only until these past 6 years have I seen what I've seen through Choose to Change. And what I wanted to share with you guys is that you may not have realized that our brother Orlando has been carrying the weight of this ministry, the weight of this organization on his own. For 6 years, he has used his own finances. He has used his own time, his own effort, his own research, he's figured out a lot of things to help Choose to Change be where it's at. And he is supporting Choose to Change all by himself currently. See, usually we hear, you know, our pastor talk about sacrifice and all that, but that same applies here. We're reaching people that we have never been able to reach before. And I want to ask you a question. Is our vision, if you read our pamphlet, it's right here. We're fighting against fatherlessness, drug addiction, and family violence. We're on the front lines, guys. And I want to ask you, is the vision worthy of sacrifice? Is the vision worthy of helping our brother Orlando carry this burden? You know, and thinking about this, I really wanted to do this because I know our brother doesn't really like to talk about, you know, money and all that. But the reality is that at what point are we going to help our brother carry the burden? And I was thinking about myself, and I believe it was God who put this, as I was thinking about picking up the donation, My dad battled fatherlessness. He didn't have a father in his life. Fortunately, he gave his life to Christ, and I had a father. I have a wonderful father. But my father didn't have a father. In fact, he had 3 fathers. And most of his childhood was spent being beat by his fathers. And I am so grateful that I did not have to go through that. And it made me realize, man, I'm so glad that Orlando has dedicated his life helping men so that they could be the fathers that they're called to be, the leaders that they're called to be. Because who knows, I could have had to gone through that. And maybe you're here and you can be a part of that vision, fighting this. Knowing that, realizing what I realized when I came here, I believe it's my moral obligation to join my brother, to carry this burden, to help further the vision. But there's a lot of work to be done, guys. And for me, it's worth the sacrifice. And it's even biblical. How many of you guys have heard that story of Moses carrying the rod as the children of Israel were fighting the Amalekites? And the Bible says in Exodus 17:10, and so it was when Moses held up his hand that Israel prevailed. And when he let down his hand, Amalek prevailed. The enemy was prevailing as he let down his hand. But Moses' hands became heavy, and so they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it. And Aaron and Hur supported his hands, one on one side and the other on the other side. And his hands were steady until the going down of the sun. So Joshua defeated Amalek and the people with the edge of the sword. I mean, we often hear that about our pastor and our church, but it's so appropriate even now. What would happen if our brother put his hands down? I believe we would have never noticed that he was carrying the burden of this ministry, of this nonprofit organization, if one day, for some reason, he just stopped. We would have never known that he was carrying all this on his own. Obviously, by the grace of God, but is the vision worth us helping him carry that burden? And, we have a vision. There's a lot of great things. Our brother was talking about, Juan he was sharing an idea that we should have an LED sign. Guys, the reality is that the fastest way that we're going to be able to accomplish our vision, further the vision, is through finances. It's just the bottom line. And I believe God designed it that way. Because what does the Bible say in Luke 12:34? For where your treasure is, your heart will also be. God purposely made it that way. Where our heart is, our finances. Our heart is tied to where we put our money. And as a nonprofit, right now we're not even breaking even. Our brother, his dream is to be able to do this full time. Right now he relies on his job, and his part time he does Choose to Change. But how much more impact if we could help carry that burden? And our brother wants to do this full time. He already goes into prisons. I don't know if you guys know that he's been to prisons in Philippines. He's gone in there. It's nothing like American prisons. He's shown me pictures. And we're all over the world already. We're building an online community. That's why we have the Choose to Change on Facebook, YouTube. But if we're going to do this fast, if we're going to do this with an urgency, it's going to require finances. And I just want to challenge you to start thinking big, guys. This isn't just some local thing. Eventually our plan is to help other churches, help other people who want to start Choose to Change, and give them resources to teach them, to know how to talk to them, to know what to teach, to be able to set up all this for them. What if we could have this all over the world? What if there was a Choose to Change? And there already is, but if we could reach men, if we could show them, this is how you get into the prisons. This is how you go do prison invasion teams. That is our vision. And I just want to challenge you guys to start thinking big about our vision, there's a lot of work to be done, like I said, and I think if this has impacted you, I believe it's our moral obligation to help. I wonder how many more stories, I wonder how many more testimonies are going to be said through this pulpit because of us pursuing the vision and getting serious about it. And so I just want to challenge you guys. We're going to go ahead and pass the donation bucket. And we also have, you can donate to Choose to Change /donate, Choose to Change Foundation /donate, and the Cash App, Choose to Change, donate, Choose to Change. And so, Chavaria. So I just wanted to challenge you guys. I wanted to let you in on the behind the scenes of Choose to Change, right? We have huge dreams. We have huge plans for Choose to Change, but it's going to take an effort. Not one person can just carry this, at least not for long, at least not if we want to grow, at least not if we want to reach the world. We need to partner together and do it together because we all are Choose to Change. Amen. All right, guys, I just wanted to challenge you guys, and I think that's it. All right. Anybody have any questions? Nothing? All right. All right, guys, that concludes our Choose to Change.